Baxter. We're gonna bring you in a minute. Hello, friends. We are now live, and I'm going to just post a link to this around on social media as it does, and then we're gonna bring in our friend Baxter. So if you're watching this not at the time, give me 20 seconds, and you'll get to enjoy the. So let's see. Posting the link on Facebook. This time, for the first time ever, I'm smart enough to before I have the link. So all I had to do is add the link. So there we go. It's posted on Facebook, posted on Twitter, and now we are promoting ourselves. We're doing such a good job today. So proud of myself as a grown adult. So I'm going to be joined by Baxter Holland from Garden of the Ark. And and he's here, so we're going to bring him in now.
Hello.
Hi, Baxter.
How are you?
How's it going?
I'm sweaty. Today is sweaty.
I'm doing well. It's good to see your face in motion. It's real fucking sweaty. I'm assuming that you are. Does anybody have AC? Like, you know, we have fans and a window unit, but it's not.
Yeah, we got one, and that's about it. So I'm like close enough that it works, but far enough that you're not going to hear the hum as I'm talking. Move myself a little bit.
Yeah, there's one window unit. We got one window unit like across the room from me now, but you know, I don't have it on because it's not helping. It is too humid to really do much.
Yes, I agree.
So first off, happy King Diamond Day. It's the 7th day of July. You know, silly thing, but I was really excited. Like every year, I kind of wake up, I look at the calendar, I'm like, oh shit, King Diamond Day.
Do you only sing in falsetto today?
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't sing ever really, but
because like all I can think of is the in 1777. So good.
Yeah. Well, no, and then especially when he says the word day, like on the 7th day, he like gives the Elmo voice. You know.
It's so good.
Which I mean, obviously, I think he predates Elmo. Maybe no,
he does.
Maybe existed. I know King Diamond predates, but I'm gonna pull up my phone for the first time.
Please do. I want to know if King Diamond predates Elmo.
Yeah. When was Elmo introduced?
When was Elmo?
When was Elmo? Okay.
Wait,
Elmo.
God.
Elmo first appeared as Elmo in 1980. So.
Really? I don't remember this. No one consulted me.
But I guess the famous Elmo puppet was designed in '84, so it still predates by a couple years. But wow,
closer than I thought, down to the wire.
Yeah, yeah. And we're drinking. I figured since you are a local boy, drinking this from Suarez Family Brewing. You can see
Suarez is killer.
Sweating, so you know.
It's
hot today.
Yeah, so I've got Three's Echo of Nothing, which is a delightful Mexican lager, very crisp, very citrusy. It's real good. They haven't had it for a couple of years. I was kind of psyched they brought it back, so it's pretty dope.
Yeah, the name of that beer sounds very fitting for a lot of reasons.
I swear there was no arch commentary. I just like the beer.
Both are good. Oh, Jesus. For the novelty, I decided to use my girlfriend's ridiculous bottle opener instead of like a good one.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, on the back it says Miller Genuine Draft. It's just
awesome.
Funny. Yeah, figure we'll drink this beer out of a glass that's totally not the right beer glass.
Oh, you're so classy. Jeez.
Oh, this is that Autumn designed for my birthday, so you know it's
Oh, killer! Wait,
yeah.
Who's on the glass?
My friend who died in November. So.
Oh gosh, sorry.
No, it's fine. No, this way I can always have a beer with him because that's kind of what we did together. I mean, that's what you do with a lot of your friends.
So that's sick.
But I mean, I literally had my first drink with him because he was how many years older than me? 23 years older. So, you know,
Whoa.
it was,
Okay.
you know, it was weird that I wasn't drinking, and I was like, "Oh, I'm 19," and he said, "Oh, you're safe here. Like I'm your parents' age. You know, fuck it." And I'm like, "Okay, you know,
Cool.
yeah, sure." I was safe. I, you know, also didn't really do much. You know, better that than like being one of those teenagers drinking on the railroad. Teenagers.
Yeah, I was.
So
I
in 5 home goes down. I'll let you know.
word.
Yeah, sorry. I feel like we're acting on a slight delay here, so I apologize for
Yeah,
that. I
that's
don't know if
okay.
that's on my end.
No, I'd like. It sort of comes and goes. Like I get you for we're like in sync for a little bit, and then we're in a little space, but we'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. So, first up, thank you for being here.
Of
It's
course.
good to see you. It's been a few months since I've seen you in the real world. I think the last maybe
Yeah.
was it time? Was it at the Prissy Whip show that we played?
Yes. Indeed, it
Okay,
was.
that was a really good time.
Oh my god, they were so good. Holy shit.
Yeah, that
Oh.
was. I mean, I'm a sucker for that sort of like. I don't even know what you'd call that kind of guitar. Like, I feel like the earliest band I know that did that sort of thing was the Pixies.
Mm,
But obviously, they're not a band that sounds like the Pixies. You know.
totally. Yeah, they've got like because they were like really. They were like skronky but dancey but super aggro. Oh, it was so
Yeah.
good. They were great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and so you used a word that actually leads me to ask a question about that lovely playlist you concocted because you're
Mm-hmm.
uh, a, a few years older than me, and so I feel like the '90s were your musical coming of age period in a lot of.
Yeah.
And I notice, you know, for a lot of people, I mean, obviously, I was a young person in the '90s, but a different kind of young person.
Mm.
So a lot of people you know, there were kind of three big guitar music things in the '90s that didn't seem
Mm-hmm.
to exist, at least not in the same way prior. There was the I'll say the birth of alt rock as something that is not actually underground anymore, but like
Yep.
it's what is it the alternative to? I still haven't figured that out. Grunge, and then I hate the term, but noise rock. And you clearly gravitated towards the latter, like the noise rock post-hardcore world.
Yeah, definitely that was my thing. Once I
And so,
figured it out.
yeah, so what was your path like? Because I'm assuming that like you put some of the prog stuff on the playlist as well. You know, Yes and King Crimson and even Led
Yeah,
Zeppelin.
yeah.
So I feel like that there must have been some sort of dawning. How did you find that stuff? Because I mean, it was obscure when I was a teenager, and
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh, this is a great question. Okay, so it started. All right, so I was taking guitar lessons when I was like 12 or 13 at this place called Bob Zatzman's Music, and Bob was like the sweetest dude ever. And so I'd walk to my lesson, and then I would usually next door to that there was a CD shop, and there was this guy, this redheaded dude named John, who was like, bless his heart, I was so nerdy and just like awkward and weird, but just like wanted to talk about music. So like I'd come in and he would just like take the fucking shrink wrap off of CDs and be like, let's check this out. Or like, so he would play me stuff and then he'd be like, okay, you need, all right, I see kind of what you like. You need to listen to King Crimson Red. You need to listen to Yes, Closer to the Edge. You need to listen to ELP. It was Tarkus first, I think is what he probably listened to.
That's
So
a
it's
good
like,
first one.
oh my God, yeah, it was great. So he just like played me stuff. And once he figured out what I liked, I'd come back in and we'd talk about it. And then so Prague was like my gateway drug to just like the really noisy, like aggro stuff. And then, so from there, it was like my friends. Okay, all right, yeah. So it was like Prague, and then when I figured like it was sort of like Primus and Alice in Chains, I was like, oh, like real bands. Like you can hear this like now in the world because it was like jagged and crazy,
Yeah.
and And Les Claypool was one of the first. Like, I took guitar because my mom wouldn't let me play bass, so I was like, fine, I'll take guitar lessons. Because her reasoning was like, well, you can't play bass by yourself. You need to be in a band. So take guitar because you can play it by yourself. I was like,
I've been breaking that rule for a while.
so I forget where I was going with that. So right. So then I was like, fine. I hit a point when I was like 15. I started a band with my next door neighbor. We were called Mean Ralphie. We were horrible. And so as I figured out what kind of bass player I would be, that's when I started listening to Primus, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, the bass is like leading the whole thing, and it's awesome. So started listening to that, and then as I was sort of coming out of Alice in Chains, Primus, Pearl Jam, all that stuff. Oh, Rage Against the Machine too, because I love the grooves. And then so now we're dovetailing to oh my God, this story is going to be so rambling. But so I was like one of the nerdy kids that, like, I was just friends with a lot of different cliques. Like, I was friends with some of the jocks, even though I was a crappy soccer player. I was into a lot of theater stuff, so I was friends with the theater kids. And then, like, me and the other nerdy dudes had our own thing. So it was just like I could just sort of bop around. And so soccer practice, the cool skater kids that were all on the soccer team, I was Timmy Schwartz, and then his friends Paul and Matt, who were not on the soccer team. But Tim one time drove me home from practice, and he had Lungfish on a tape, and he put it in his tape deck. And it was, the first song I heard was Fresh Air Cure, and I was like 16 years old. I was like, what is this? And can you please make me a tape? He's like, you like this? I was like, yes, more. Give me all of it right now. So then, like, that just like opened the floodgates. And it was like Lungfish, Fugazi, Circus Lupus, Trenchmouth, Antioch Arrow, the whole Gravity Records roster. Some punk stuff, although, like, my friend Matt really loves Screeching Weasel, which I couldn't totally get into, but Jawbreaker, 24-hour 24-hour Revenge Therapy had just come out, and I was like, oh, see, this guy feels stuff really hard. This is cool. And then I was it was Ben, and I can't remember the drummer's name, but I was basically adopted by kids like 2 years my senior to play bass in their band, and they wanted to be really noisy shoegaze stuff. So then through Ben, I learned all about My Bloody Valentine and Ride and Slow Dive and Swerve Driver and all that stuff. So within a couple years, like, my world went from that to like, oh God. And then in art class, Dan and his friend, what was his name? Oh, because Don DeVore was there. So Don DeVore of Ink and Dagger and Frail and, oh God, what else? And then he was in, I don't know what he's in now. Oh, Icarus Line. So he was a year or two behind me in high school. So through that clique, I got into like Rorschach and who else were they into? Jawbox and God, it was probably other bands on like Gurn Blanston or something. But point being, it was just like I met so many people in so many different pockets, and it all converged and taught me all the things. To make a rambling story short.
Oh, that's actually really cool. There were 3 bands on the playlist that I had heard the names of, but I'd never actually heard their music before, so I learned some new stuff today.
Oh, who?
So Circus Lupus, and that's probably perhaps the most obscure one you picked anyway. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Don Cab, which I'm not going to say, is it Caballero? I don't know.
I think apparently it's based. They took the name from a character on SCTV who was Guy Caballero, I think. So I think it's Don Caballero. But
I mean, that's how it should be pronounced, but I know that, you know.
White people mess stuff up.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Celtics. So
right. I can't. That's funny. I would have thought you had heard Don Cab. I'm very excited for you. It's real good.
Yeah, I had always been told they were an emo band somehow. I think that there's loose ties to that, but clearly from the age of emo and post-hardcore overlap.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All I can think is that getting the wires crossed somewhere in there. And then another band who I'm not sure how their name is meant to be pronounced, but Drive Like J,
Mhm.
how I think.
I say Jehu. I've always said Jehu.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah.
I worked with a fella who that was his name, and it was Heu, because which is because it's Spanish. So
Oh, it's also because it came from a quote in the Bible where they got their name because it was like it. I'm gonna butcher it, but something like, "And he who driveth like Jehu driveth furiously," or something like that. And they were like, "Yeah,
yeah,
that's cool." So
I
probably
really
a mix of both.
I loved that, but I also know that like a lot of Spanish names that are biblically derived, they just kind of adapted it to a Spanish pronunciation. Like I've known plenty of Benjamins, which is
Hmm.
Benjamin, the Hebrew name. So, and I'm Benjamin, which is
Gotcha.
all original. So, I take it with a grain of salt, but I wasn't sure. So, Drive Like Jehu, I'd never heard.
Oh
One of
my
them
god.
who may be watching probably isn't.
Hmm.
Uh, Commented on the Patreon post when I posted your playlist. He said that when he saw Hot Snakes, people were yelling at them to play Luau. Uh,
Yeah, I was actually probably one of those people. No, it was Obits, and I was like, I was lit as hell, and I was right in front. And Rick Froberg was like 5 feet from me, and I was like, "Play Lulu," and he looks at me and he goes, "Those songs are too hard, man. We don't do those anymore."
we can't play that.
It was like, yeah, he was like, he was like, we're too old. We were like 19 when we did those songs,
That's kind of amazing.
so
Uh,
too hard. Yeah.
it's also interesting because like I've been learning a lot about the intricacies of 90s underground culture because I feel like it's really easy to write off a period in which you're an adolescent. Because I'm 33 now, so it's like I was kind of in an in-between age. Like it's harder for me to have nostalgia for the 90s, or at least it was until recently.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
So like I had a lot of 80s stuff because that was the sounds of me being a little kid, and then nobody wants to relive ages 8 through 17. I mean,
Oh
I
no,
think it's a shitty time to be a
never.
person. So, like
Mhm.
for a couple things that made it through, like I loved the Smashing Pumpkins, Nine Inch Nails. Like there's not a lot from those years that I'd paid attention to. But
Mhm.
my better half has kind of helped me find the interesting things. We watched the documentary on the band Brainiac.
Oh
Not
God, I haven't seen it. Actually, like contributed to their Kickstarter because they were so good. They were
you
so good.
contributed to the Kickstarter and you did
Yeah,
the
I
film.
didn't even get to see the damn movie.
You should
Oh,
see it. I
oh my
think
God, I
I
didn't know it
don't
was like done.
I don't
Oh
remember
well.
where it can be seen. Oh, I mean, I think they even did a screening of it like a year ago, and we wanted to go, but I was sick. And it's two. Between the two, we weren't going to see it.
Right.
Um, but oh my god! I fell in love with that band,
Oh, oh.
and I mean, I guess
Mwah. They were
obviously.
so good.
And then I'd been revisiting just kind of, especially thinking, knowing that I was going to talk to you because people watching this don't know, but like obviously I'd
Mhm.
been planning on talking to you for well over a month now, but with the last month, I postponed everything, kind of took it off the hook.
Mhm.
I'd been thinking
Yeah.
of the intersections of noise rock, post hardcore, and prog and psych because I do think that there is, despite the complete disparate approaches, there's an odd overlap, and I've noticed like
Oh yeah.
the big example is how uh, at the drive-ins last album kind of got weird, and then they broke off and became the fucking Mars Volta. It's like if that
Yeah.
people growing up in the late '70s and then becoming that. It's been a really interesting thing for me because Prague is also something that I'd had a hard time with, like save for Emerson Lake and Palmer for a long time, and
Mhm.
I've grown on me. I have to be in the right mood, but
I
I've
feel that.
thought about that, about this kind of tense, almost repressed sort of music, and, and I guess, and then eventually almost leading to the ecstatic release of something as freeform as Prague. Uh,
Yeah.
and then looking at that as kind of a blueprint for you and your band. I mean, obviously your own trajectories are unique, but it's been interesting because I had previously viewed them as almost opposing forces. So you are directly responsible in a lot of ways for getting me to re-examine how I viewed the interconnectivity of these things.
Gotcha.
And I want to talk about your band specifically because of that. Your new record is out digitally as of
Yes.
late May. I want to say it came out.
Early April, very close.
Early April.
Yeah.
Sorry, what the fuck is time anymore?
Yeah, it means nothing.
You had put 2 songs from it out as kind of a dual single last year.
Yes.
Undone and First Accident, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And did you have the whole album ready when you released those 2? Or was it, oh, we've got these finished and let's show a teaser?
It was that. It was basically because we were doing the whole thing ourselves, and Craig, our guitarist, is just a wizard at recording and mixing and just sort of sculpting what sort of in a sonic and engineering way what we've been making. So we had everything tracked, and we were like, given that we're all grown-ups, the other 2 bandmates are dads, so and Craig runs his own business, and Conrad works in media. So it was just like we already knew, like, ooh, this is going to take a while because Craig, mixed and mastered it himself, and he's got 4 billion other things going on. So yeah, we were like, let's put these 2 out now, buy us some time to properly put everything together. So yeah, we recorded. It was actually 3 years ago, like right now, that we actually tracked all those songs. So it took us a minute to get everything together. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
That anticipation, like, how did that feel to sit on it? And then how did it feel to finally have it out?
I mean, having it out was, oh my God, because that was right when COVID was just gnarly, because it was early April. We didn't even know how bad it was yet. So it was such. Oh, say again?
Wasn't that like right before everything started to peak, like a couple weeks?
Yeah, basically. So it was just like, I'm just sitting, and I just lost my job. So I'm just like sitting at the dining room table. I was like, oh, this will actually give me joy. I had kind of forgotten what this feels like. So putting it out felt great, and people were so nice and supportive, and more people bought the thing than I thought were gonna. So that was kind of nice, just to help get us through that first week. And then wait, hold on, you had another question. Oh, sitting on it. Yeah. I mean, like, it sucked because Craig knew, bless his heart, he's like, oh, I know I'm taking so long. I'm so sorry. I know what I want to do. I just don't have the time to do it. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, like, no pressure. Like, do it when you can do it. But it was sort of like, I mean, I'm sure you've known, I feel like every band knows this. Like, if you don't have, it's hard to stay psyched and motivated when you don't have a date or a goal that you're working towards. So since we were just doing it ourselves, and we didn't have a date, we were like, okay, this needs to be out by blah. It was hard. There were definitely a couple of months where we sort of lost our head of steam. We're just feeling a little despondent, and like, because we couldn't get gigs. By the way, how trash is trying to book a gig in New York back when it was even possible? I hate it. I really hate trying to book a gig.
The frustrating thing too is, like, you get a possible hold on a date, but they're like, oh, and then you can't even fill a bill. And like, how is everybody so desperate for gigs, but also completely unable to play gigs?
Yeah,
it's the weirdest conundrum. And I realized that the band I play in is, we're in a luxurious spot, and that, 3 of the 4 of us are only in the one band, and none of us have anything else to do. We're either going to go to the bar drinking with friends, or we're going to go to the bar to play a show. So it's like, we may as well go to the bar and get a drink ticket, so at least we get 1 round comped. Yeah. That's basically it. Like, let's show up and have an excuse to have more fun. Like, but I mean, I realize, like, a lot of people are parents, a lot of people have jobs, a lot of people are in multiple bands. Mm-hmm. And all of those are good, valid things, but it's so hard to build a lineup, especially, you know, if you're trying to get somebody that can actually draw like a crowd, like a headliner. Because I feel like otherwise it's just everybody's going to bring their 6 closest friends.
Yeah, exactly. And then like you always want to shoot the moon a little bit, but it always feels so weird. It's like, hey, I love your band. Will you headline even though we've never met and you don't know from Adam? Like I've done it, and it like people are usually pretty chill and nice.
Yeah.
And even like the kindest has been Justin Foley from the austerity program. Like I've hit him up a bunch of times. He's always like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. Like they were just putting the final touches on Bible Songs 1 when I think I hit him up." But he was so sweet. He's like, "I'll do my solo thing if you want an opener." I was like, "Oh no, we need an opener." But thank you. You're so sweet. So yeah, you get nice little rays of sunlight in there.
We had him show up to headline our show last summer with some touring acts, and like it's like, okay, we got people coming from out of state. We need somebody, because even like Lazy Space Cake, you know, we've got, for a band that's only been playing a short while, we've got a surprisingly decent draw, mostly because we have friends that like come out. You know, there are some people that are, you know, also just there for the show. Like a lot of it is, you know, they're friendly people who like to see us. But I remember the touring act, my friend Vern, who was one of the folks touring, I guess probably either loosely knew Justin or had gigged with him a while ago in her old band, because I guess they had kind of, you know, they were one of those like notable bands, but not big name act bands.
Right.
So, and he's like, yeah, I'll do my thing. And he showed up with like 6 amplifiers, each with a guitar on top of it, and had them
to do the he had them all vibrating at different frequencies and shit. Yeah,
it was
so cool,
wild. It was
awesome.
Unique shows I've seen, and he was so gracious and cool. But you know, it was definitely. I mean, it was also a show that was mostly noise stuff, so it made perfect sense to have that there. We were the outliers as the full live
band. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, everybody else has synthesizers. We have a drum kit and.
What about Eugene? Eugene plays those synths.
No. But like, you know, everything else was like, it was just like synths and experimental sets, and then there, but yeah, you should play with Justin Foley anyway. But definitely not.
I want to for sure.
But also, I would love to see you know, the band live.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
And so speaking of your bandmates, because I feel like you guys have a very full but simultaneously really sparse way of composing, which is not. I mean, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, that was crafted and intentional.
Okay. And so how does it look writing a song in Garden of the Ark? Does someone show up with a part, or do you jam it out? Like, how does it come to be?
It's usually okay. So basically, it starts. I'd show you if I could be bothered to get up, but all the songs are written in my kitchen right there. So written. It's like, so I'll just do in GarageBand, just do like a shitty click track, and then it'll be like a full song skeleton, like my best sort of pass at an arrangement. Sometimes I'll have vocals, sometimes I don't. Craig likes it when I have my vocals already done because he gets a fuller picture of where he can like go crazy and where he should pull back and that kind of thing. So I'll do the skeleton, send it to the two of them, see how, if they're just like interested in it, just get a gut check on, does this feel like a Garden of the Ark song? Is it too similar to other things we've done? Is it something you'd be psyched to try and do? So then once I've gotten their blessing, sort of like wait until we have a couple. And then, so Craig is a woodworker. His shop is called, it was Parts and Labor, but he changed it. Oh, he's going to kill me for not knowing this. First Third or something? Oh, shit. I'm going to look it up. Anyway, Craig, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. So anyway, his wood shop's
Blame
awesome.
it on the beer.
Yeah. And so he's got like his office is soundproofed, and he's got his Pro Tools set up on his computer. So and he's got, dude, it's sick. And he's got an orange little tiny Terror for his guitar, and he has a Bergantino bass cab with the same head I have, which is Mesa Boogie 400. So point being, so I basically go there once I've got the skeleton. We sit and like deconstruct the arrangement and figure out what the flavor of Craig's parts are going to be, and sort of map it out. And then he goes away, thinks about it, and then I come back and we play it through together, figure out what's working really well, what doesn't seem to fit the vibe, is, you know, just like all the fiddly stuff, like, should we make this part 6 times instead of 4 times? Oh, do we need another bit between the chorus and the verse? Do we want to do something crazy and fucked up for 4 measures, like in this little section of the song? So it's just this constant iterative thing. It's like once I've done the skeleton, yeah, then me and Craig sort of take it apart and put it together again. And then once we've done that, we'll record it, send it to Conrad so he can start thinking about it. And then we get together at Complete Studios and and we just sort of just drill it until we can actually play it live. So then the shedding begins.
That sounds really cool, actually, because
it's really fun.
You know, I love making music, but I'm still in that point of newness where it's still, and I mean, I think it's always going to be magic when you love something, but it's still magic to me, as in I don't always fully understand it. Like, you know, like I know how the light bulb turns on, but I don't know how the electricity happens, sort of thing. And that's how it's like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to throw a couple things together and see what.
Just see. I mean, like, it is. I mean,
really cool.
There's a part that's. I mean, there is an alchemy. Like, I don't think we would have sounded so different if I had been with 2 other people. Because because the whole thing started. I was like, I want to do like a really riffy, heavy, like stonery, skronky thing. But then, if Craig and Conrad were both like super into that world, we would have sounded expected, and not like we're like so crazy or out there, but it's like Connie he loves the Grateful Dead, and he loves Dylan, and he loves the Tragically Hip, and just like he's just like a rock drummer. And Craig was like, Craig came up outside of Dallas and was just like me, like he was super into Discord and loved like the Minutemen, and Jawbox was a fave, and he's been in some killer bands too. Actually, my favorite was Volcano. I'm Still Excited. I don't know if you knew that, but it's
I've seen you guys tweet about that. You know, as you know, I know his brother as well, so I feel like I've seen.
Right, yeah.
But
I've
never heard that.
It's really like, it's organ, drums, and guitar, and it's super poppy and fun. And it's actually the claim to fame. And I know he's been shit on a lot in the press. Craig has his own issues with it, but it was Mark Duplass was the singer and organ player in the band. So that was sort of the claim to fame. But so Craig has his own musical language. So it was like, so when we sat down, he was like, I can't, like, if you want me to be like you, I can't be like you. I was like, no, that's horrible. Don't do that. So he was like, I want to do like a Minutemen thing where it's like Mike Watt had the low end and D Boone had the other stuff. And let's just like figure out when we come together and when we pull it apart. And Craig is a wizard at like, it's hard, like, you know those people that you meet them and you're like, I can't fathom how your brain works because it's so different to mine. Like, he's the kind of guy, he could like strip and rebuild a distortion pedal blindfolded, or like he probably would have been a good gambler or a coder. Just like his mind chases down possibilities, whereas I'm like, I'll freak out if I go that deep. I'm like, no, big picture stuff. It should feel blah, blah, blah. He's like, cool. Here are 5 ways we could do this. way A, pros and cons, way B, pros and cons. So it's sort of like we thrash out so many possibilities and then we come back together and figure out what makes the most sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I'm more from your school of intuition is all I have, and so it's like you pray that your own sense of taste is good enough because that's all you've got.
Yeah, basically. I mean, like I was scared to death the first time I played with him. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work because the first practice was kind of shitty.
It doesn't
like, oh, you just got. Can you say that again? You just got so digital and weird and like blurry.
That's how they all are. Yeah, I said they all are. Every yeah, you're cutting out. You cut out again.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, absolutely. Now
Okay.
it's perfect.
Woo!
But yeah, no. I think the only good first practice I had was when I joined a band that already was set, and I'm just like, oh, you just need somebody to sing on your songs. That was easy enough, especially when it was a metal band and all I did was scream. Like, otherwise, yeah, no, it's. I think if you don't have some sort of complication or struggle to overcome in making something happen, it may still sound good, but it won't be.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think that sometimes you have to learn to communicate musically with people if you want to make something that isn't just derivative.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm very into a lot of genres that are oversaturated, and I'm sure that's every genre, but like I love black metal, which you can totally do that by numbers. I love post-punk. The amount of bands I've heard that just wish they were joining me for this, it bore me to fucking tears and forget all of the daring, adventurous nature of that genre's roots.
Yeah.
Point. Yeah, you can be an incredible musician and write an interesting song like that, but like it's often better when not everybody's just coming with the same DNA.
Totally. And that was, I completely agree. And like, yeah, it's the more we play together, like I can't wait to get rock. Cause like, sorry, I don't know where I was going with this, but I've written, just being in lockdown, there's like 11 new songs ready for the alchemy to happen. And like now that this album's out and we're so comfortable with each other, like I'm so excited to see what we do. Cause now it's like, whereas before it was kind of like, oh, we're so different. I don't know how this is going to turn out. Like, I know how Conrad's going to approach it. I know how Craig's going to approach it. Like, oh, fuck, it's going to be so cool. So it's fun.
Yeah. And so I know that this is your first album, but you put out some demos maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
How long has been playing together as a band? I didn't know it when I was getting ready to do this.
Yeah, so hold on. I actually have to look at Instagram. I want to say our first practice was 2015. I think it was it really that long ago? I think it was. Hold on. I will tell you. I'm going to scroll through while we're talking. Yeah, it was a while. And then, no, because it wasn't. Maybe 2016, but you know what? We're going to figure this out.
Well, I think your first like demo thing online was like 2017. So it would make sense that like a year or two before is when you started.
Yeah, because it was real up and down. Oh no, sorry. You know what it was? I wrote all those songs October of 2015 because I was bummed I wasn't in a band. And then I sent them out just to some friends, like, are these good? Should I try and do something with this? And Craig wrote back and was like, I want to play on these. Like, let's do it for real. So that's right. So that was 2015. And then probably end of 2015, early 2016 is when he and I started putting stuff together. And then Conrad got involved a couple months later. And then that would have made sense because then the first demos would have been after we had like gelled a little bit. Yeah. So yes, that makes more sense. Okay, I remember.
And so I know that, so you've been a bassist for like, or I guess you started as a guitarist, but like 30 years you've been playing a stringed instrument.
Mm-hmm.
When did you become a singer? When did that occur to you? Because I know that a lot of people, especially if you're drawn to an instrument that is not the dominant instrument, this impulse does not come from the same place.
Yeah, so it was like, Okay, so as one does in college, I just sort of tried everything. So at one point, people used to make fun of me because I think I was in 3 or 4 bands at the same time. And so, oh my God, one was a ska band that had like 9 people in it. We were not good, but it was very fun. And then, so there was the first time I sung was the summer after my sophomore year. The 2 guys I was living with, we were like, you can drum, you can play guitar, let's start a band. And so we were this really fucking like skronky Mission of Burma thing. And it's so, because Ernie and John didn't want to sing, I kind of by default did. I was like, all right, I'll yell. And it was really fun. And so I yelled for that. And then senior year of college, one of my best friends in the world, this guy Adam, and our friend Max, this was so 90s, we did like a 2 basses and drums thing, and we were called North South. And so Adam and I wanted to do like a Guy and Ian Fugazi thing where like he would sing sort of the high melodic shit and I would just sort of belt stuff out. So sung there, and then didn't really think about it because I'm good at yelling, but I can't. Holding notes is a little tricky for me, so I'm usually a little flat. So I became very embarrassed about that and was like, well, I'm just going to yell. That's it. Like, I'm never going to try singing. And then Adam moved to New York after I had been here a little bit. So he and I were in a band called Miracles from like 2005 or 6 to like 2011. And then I would do like backing vocals for that. But the first time we recorded me, I was so flat. Adam was like, I'm just going to do it. So it's like, okay, I'll stick to yelling on stage. And then I'm trying, we'll see, like with this new batch of Garden of the Ark songs I made, there's some singing happening. I'm more confident about it. Cause like, I'll tell you why. Cause I was listening to, I've been getting super into Nick Cave, and I realized if I said this on Twitter, I would get dogpiled because he's got like a libertarian streak that's kind of weird, and he defended. He's what?
He's got some bad opinions.
He has some bad opinions, but I cannot fault his music, which I love, and I love that he can like belt out a song, and his notes are all over the place, but he carries it off with such like authority and aplomb. I was like, fuck, Nick Cave can like belt out like Deanna, where he's really not hitting notes all the time, but it sounds awesome. Maybe I can do, or like the singer of Daughters, like when he went from shrieking to like that southern drawl warble that he does. I was like, I can do that, so we'll try it.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Cave has the almost like the junkie savant thing where he's
yes.
His sort of singing, because he started, obviously with the earlier stuff, it wasn't so much singing. When he was too fucked up to care, he was having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of, over the years as he sobered up, he figured it out and like got it. But I think when you know that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it doesn't matter if you're doing it right. People, that's great. Like, and that's what I think, like, that era of Nick Cave, the 80s albums, which are still, I mean, I love what he's doing. They're still my favorites.
Oh, yeah. Like, at sort of Henry's Dream, Tender Prey, Let Love In, like, it's unimpeachable. Yeah.
And even, the first Bad Seeds album, too, it possibly my favorite. Still, even, like, the Well of Misery and stuff, you can still hear the birthday party type influence, but it's also, but yeah, and then God, Daughters. It took me so long to forgive Daughters for Hell songs, because I was an early Daughters fan. I found only had Canada songs and the EP before it.
Yeah.
And because I was a teenager, and those guitars, like, which it sounded like it just sounded dizzy. Like I was already.
Yeah, you get seasick listening to it. It's just the rear. Yeah. Like I don't know how he does it.
No, but hearing him like with it makes sense. And so to have him suddenly going like this,
yeah, Yeah, it's so good.
I'm like, you sound like somebody yelling at me from the other end of the bar. That was my initial reaction.
Yes.
I didn't have anything else in my world that was like that. Like it, you know, and now I love it, but it took me a minute. You know, I mean,
Oh, same.
I was like 17, so
Yeah, it matters when you're 17. You're like, betrayed.
To be fair, I don't think anybody. I think Daughters would have been relegated to a band that myself and other people that own multiple Locust albums liked. You know,
I love the Locust.
I do too. I mean, so the Locust I bought their CD on a whim, the Plague Soundscapes, because I love it. I'm like, there's a lot of songs on this. They have weird titles, and I'm a teenager who consumes too much caffeine. This sounds perfect.
Perfect match, yeah.
You know, and to be fair, I think I saw in the store. I was like, I don't know. I read an interview with them where they talked about people, you know, shouting homophobic slurs at them for being weird, and they're like, I thought we were supposed to live in this progressive society where people don't say that anymore. And I remember being a teenager and thinking, oh, these guys are weirdos. I'm a weirdo. People yell slurs at me too.
Gotcha.
I'm probably going to like what they do. I did not understand what the Locust did for a really long time, but I liked it, especially because my parents hated it.
Oh, yeah. I remember, oh, my God, my dad walked in. I can't remember. I think I was home from college. And do you remember their first CD was the really tiny one that they did and just like the normal? Yeah. So I was playing that on the computer while I was like on an AOL chat room because I was bored as hell. My dad's like, what? They're just screaming. It's just screaming. Do you like this? It's horrible. It's like, okay.
They had their synth that sounded like a fart.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh man, they were so fun live. Holy shit. Yeah. I remember my little brother came to New York, and back when the Knitting Factory was on Leonard Street, we went and saw them on the first floor, and it was so hot. And of course they were in full on, this is when they had the insectile like ski masks on with like sort of reflective. What'd you say?
It's like 2003, 2004, maybe.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it was so hot. I just remember, I guess it was Gabe who was drumming, just kept pulling his eye socket open and dumping water like down his mask. He was so hot. It was a good show. It was real good. Yeah, my brother was like, this is amazing. I love it.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like there are certain things that even as like obviously now that's a band that has grown in popularity as Daughters have, and deservedly so, but like even when these bands get big, you know that the people that like that are drawn to that, there is a certain kinship, there's a certain oddness about you because it doesn't matter how high profile some of these acts get. It's not. It appeals to something. I don't want to say transgressive or subversive, but like
just something out, like
something that art in general does. You know, like
for sure.
To me, whether it's Rocky Erickson or Daughters, like there is a thread of like you don't fit in, but that's cool because here's this weird shit that you're gonna love.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm excited to hear you sing. I mean, and to be fair, I've always enjoyed, like I was actually going to comment, like the cadence that you use in a lot of the songs, like it's cool because you're not just following the instrument you're playing, whereas like I think when you're playing a rhythm instrument especially, it's really it's compelling to follow that and the fact that you deviate from that, like that alone is hard enough to go for a note. I get what you're saying, like you're just focused on getting it out.
And sometimes, especially like, in the first couple of shows, you're just like, Lord, just let me get through this song. It's sort of like you're on a bucking bronco and you're just like, I just got to hold on. The song's over in like 30 seconds. There's an easy part coming up. It's just like, it's tricky. But like the fun thing, that's the other thing. Sorry, quick segue or sidetrack. But one thing Craig is super awesome at is because like my instinct to sing like, either what I'm plucking or like do a syncopated thing where it's like I'll sing on the and as I'm doing my thing. Craig's like, whoa. What about this? And so like we'll figure out like a vocal rhythm that is a really cool sort of counterpoint to what I'm doing and what Craig's doing, and then I'll like sing it into like my voice memos on my phone, and then I'll come home and practice. But it's like it's really hard to unlearn how to not sing on the rhythms that you're playing. But it's so worth it when it comes off. But it's scary. It's scary and it's hard.
You do it really well, and I'm not just saying that because you're my friend. And I wanted to ask about the lyrics too, because like they seem simultaneously very stream of consciousness depending on the song, and very which I think is an interesting balance. Like you've got, there's all sorts of things like about human interactions and kind of what seems like kind of failures to communicate properly, and sometimes, but then
you've hit the nail on the head.
Okay, so can you share your lyrical process? Like, is that writing, or is that second? Does it come after you've written a bass line? Like, I want to know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's always lyrics are last, just because like I need a really solid foundation to be able to do it. So I'm for the new batch of songs, I want to push lyrical content, but a lot of it, I mean, it's so funny you say that, because like a lot of stuff was about, so I've been married before, first marriage ended badly. And so even though it was so long ago, like there's still psychic sludge I'm trying to like clear out. So there are a couple songs, that are just like how wrong it went and how I would have done things so differently if I were here, if it had happened now. So you are dead on the money, because it was just stuff I needed to get out. And now that I've gotten it out, I'm like, oh, I don't have to sing about that anymore. Like I can tell stories about people I don't know or make up crazy shit. But so at least I drew it. Yeah, I drew it on personal stuff. Just, I don't know. It was just like the easiest knee-jerk thing for me to do. And like I always had fancy, I'm going to sing about political stuff like Fugazi does, and it's going to be awesome. But like when I did it, I was like, I'm writing like just trite garbage, and it's just not working. So I wanted to wrestle with big world stuff, but I don't feel comfortable writing unless it's about stuff that's either I'm trying to get out, or it's a character that I've come across that I want to either lift up or tear down, so it's all, for me, it's got to come from a personal place. And then like, so what I'll do is like, I'll sort of give myself a brief, and then I'll just play the song over and over again. And if Craig and I have figured out the rhythm, then I'll just like sing nonsense to like hit the beats and figure out how many syllables, what feels good, when do I yell, when do I pull back. And then I like, in the way that like, in terms of like how I do it, it's sort of like, I always thought just for creating mental images that you're like, how did you do that? Al Johnson, the singer of U.S. Maple and Dead Rider, like he puts words together in a way that I'm just like, how, what? Really? But, and like Bob Pollard from Guided by Voices, same thing. Just like, I love it when lyrics, like you read the words and you're like, this doesn't make sense, but then you hear it and you're like, oh, I get what you're talking about now. And I don't even flatter myself that I'm that close, because it's still pretty descriptive, but like I was just trying to balance like something very personal with trying to be a little like sort of out there and weird at the same time.
Oh, it worked, because I mean, again, as I said, like it balances like very precise concepts with sort of stream of thought. And maybe it wasn't stream of thought to you, but like as a listener, I'm like, oh man, like this is clever. Like the three, I mean, that stood out to me lyrically. I mean, Undone, which was the single that came out last year. Where We Stand and Dead Weight. All of those, I was like, oh man, like just the way you framed things and phrased things, like a lot of it was just, it's very direct, but it's also very, I think sometimes people say things that are very direct and blunt, and they feel very unpoetic. But the way you've done it, and perhaps it's the delivery or the context,
Mm-hmm.
it feels elevated by the entire structure of the thing.
Oh, that's flattering of you to say. Yeah, it's funny. Like, actually, where we stand, like, that was we. I can't. I'm trying to remember. That honestly, we just cooked up in practice. Like, it just kind of came out, and I meant to do it as a placeholder, but then I was like, oh, that's like, this is good. Like, let's just keep it. And then, yeah, Dead Weight was just about like that awful self-loathing that happens when you just come home so drunk, and you know you're just like, you're gonna feel horrible tomorrow. Your partner is gonna be pissed at you, and like, maybe you did some shitty stuff that night, maybe you didn't, but just that moment where you're like, ugh, why am I on? Like, why am I doing this? Like, that question. So,
Yeah.
which I'm, sure a lot of us have felt. But yeah, it was like a very just like those late nights where you're like, oh man, why am I doing this? This is so stupid.
Like, you feel regret before you've even finished having the regret.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's already started and it's still the same night, not even the morning after.
Yeah. No, that's the feeling I used to get when I would drink like natural ice. Before you get the beer.
Yeah.
I mean, I also, it's probably been 12 years since I've had one.
For a reason. I said for a reason. It's not.
Yeah, no, it was like I
I
lived in a college house, and it was there, and that was one I could get away with taking from my roommates without them caring.
Gotcha.
And when you're 21, that's a great beer to have.
Oh yeah, totally.
Not so much now. Or anytime since. I don't think I've ever spent money having that. I've regretted every free natty ice I had anyway.
Wise.
Oh my gosh. And so you can tell I didn't draft questions here because that's not of interest to me.
It's fine.
Because like conversation I think is more important. I wanted to talk, or rather I guess hear you talk about, if possible, because you touched on them and they were in your playlist. Mr. Higgs, Mr. Lung. See, I mean, for one, I think that is, for a lot of people who are punk or punk adjacent, he is kind of like one of our prophets in a way, because there are so many truisms and things that he has said that like it both inspires me and also makes me want to give up on trying to say something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My Lungfish fandom began only maybe 7 years ago. I'm new. But like, what did you ever get to see them, for one?
Oh yeah, I saw them, dude. So senior year, I saw them a couple times. First time was senior year of high school. They opened up for Joan Jett in Philly. Yeah, it was awesome, and like, it was one of the rare times my parents actually let me out on a school night to see a show. So I was like, this is already going to be awesome. So I went with my aforementioned friends, Paul, Matt, and Tim. And Paul's girlfriend Amy came too, and we ran into Asa, the guitarist, in the parking lot, and of course, like, fanboyed and girled all over him, and he was so sweet and kind. He's just like the gentlest man, and he's just like, cool, man, like, I gotta go inside, but I'll rap with y'all later. So like, I was already like, and yeah, he's like, I'll rap with you. So he was, so saw them. And then, like, this was the period, because Dan kind of changed his vibe later, but he would come out in like green army fatigues. He had this big bushy beard, and he was, he's got tats all over his knuckles, and they would only do the most recent album that had come out. They would just perform the track list, and then that was it. No encore, no nothing. Just boop 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 boop. I think this was after. What was after? Oh no! You know what? They started doing that later because they kind of hopped around. Maybe they just did the one before Rainbows from Adams. Anyway, I was spellbound because like they just looked so weird on stage. Like Mitchell Feldstein the drummer looked like 15 years older than everybody else in the band, but he's like fucking banging out these like repetitive beats. And the bass player at the time, this guy John, was like an eel, like not like Axl Rose's thing, but he was just like undulating everywhere. And then Asa stood really still with his eyes shut and was just like vibing on the music. And then Dan would come out all twitchy and like in these green fatigues, and just like he was so interior when he performed, but it was just, you were just spellbound because you could tell it was almost like he was performing an exorcism or what have you. And so then I saw them back to Brainiac. So then like next year when I started at Brown, it was Lungfish, Jawbox, and Brainiac on one bill, which was awesome. And
you saw Brainiac, wow.
Oh yeah, I saw him a bunch. And like, again, like just terrorized the bass player, this guy Monasterio. And like, just, I remember fanboying on him at the Met Cafe, where like, poor guy, all he wanted to do was have a beer. And I'm like, hey, I love your band. What kind of bass play? Blah, blah, blah. And like, he was so sweet and patient. And I was like, it's a kindness I won't forget. But yeah, so they were all amazing. And Dan still was doing like his fatigues and just sort of barking into the mic and being super intense. And then when I saw them a couple years later, it was totally different. And he was doing like, there we go, sort of like wizard hand gestures at the crowd to like cast spells. And he was engaging with people more. And there was like a change. And also they weren't just playing whatever their most recent album was. They were actually kind of hopping around. It was probably when Love is Love came out, was when I saw them. Okay. But he, yeah, and then it was more like Dan as Shaman. But like I've met him a couple times. One time was, he was like this very shy, like sort of sweet dude. But my favorite, I've talked about this on Twitter a bunch. My favorite time I ever saw Dan Higgs was I was on 19th and 6th, and he's coming out of Bed Bath & Beyond, and he's got like 4 Bed Bath & Beyond shopping bags like in each hand. He's just like loaded for bear. God knows what he bought. And he's just looking up, squinting at the sun, just motionless for like a good minute and a half, just staring, looking at the sun with his Bed Bath & Beyond bags. It was pretty great. And then another time my friend saw him as a passenger in a Volvo in Clinton Hill. So the man gets around. But yeah, so I can't even remember what your question was, but live, they're great, and he's awesome and just a fucking lunatic.
Yeah. So you did not bother Daniel Higgs when he was having.
Not at Bed Bath & Beyond. I bothered him at Kim's Video one time. God rest Kim's Video. The East Village one. He was just like shopping. What'd you say?
No, go ahead.
Oh, just like poor guy. Like he was shopping for CDs just in his own little world. And like I scared the shit out of him. I was just like, hey, Dan Higgs, hey, sorry, I'm a fan. Just want to say I love your new album, blah, blah. He's like, cool, man. And just like went like 4 or 5 rows down from where I was to like get away from me. I felt horrible. I had to. He was in Kim's Video shopping for CDs.
I didn't even know he was local, so
I don't know. I mean, if he's not, he just was coming up to New York for a while, but maybe he did live there. I don't know.
I mean, he's somebody, even in the early material, even before he did his weird, it's not weird, but his, guru shaman sort of thing, he always had very insightful, like you could tell that he was thinking differently, in a lot of the rest of us. It maybe will never do.
Yeah. Well, have you read, he's put out books of poetry, like with his sketches, which if you haven't picked those up, like there's one called the Doomsday Bonnet, I think. But yeah, he just like, I would love to be a fly on the wall just like for a day in the life of Dan Higgs. Because like, oh my God. So to illustrate, I don't know if you follow, do you listen to The Beauty Pill? Do you know Chad Clark, the singer of that?
So actually, I'd never heard of Beauty Pill until maybe January, when somebody suggested I listen to them for the music writing exercise. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, the one that Gary does for
Yeah,
February.
Gary's
Yeah.
And I listened to the Unsustainable Lifestyle. I became obsessed. And today, for the first time ever, just because the spirit took me, I listened to the prior band, Smart Went Crazy.
Oh, Con Art is one of the best albums.
Which I listened to Con Art,
all time,
and I thought, oh, this could have been on Baxter's playlist.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's still good. But so Chad was tweeting about Dan Higgs, and because Chad's done a lot of engineering and mixing for just other Discord bands, and so he and Dan had been talking about a potential project that Chad was going to work on, and he gets an email from Dan that's like, Chad, it's Daniel. I know we've talked before, but I'm new now. And that was it. New Dan Higgs, just checking in. It's like, I'm still me, but I'm also new, Chad. Yeah. So, and I had sent this to my friend Brian. He was like, I don't think I could be friends with Dan Higgs. I don't think I could either. It would just be too cosmic.
I grew up in California, and I've known a few of those.
Okay.
And they're concurrently some of the most beautiful and challenging people you'll ever know. They're shades. It's a spectrum. Some people are just challenging. Some people are just beautiful. And it's
yes.
But it reminds me of, and I know I can safely say this because he's never going to see this. David Tibet, who I love David Tibet's work. He's a very interesting person, and I don't know if you're a fan at all, but he.
I actually don't know who David Tibet is, so this is
Current 93.
What are those? Like, I've heard Current 93. I have no idea, or heard the name rather. I have no idea what they sound like.
So Current 93, the primer, they branched away because they are not the same way, but they were peers with Death in June and their ilk, but they're not shady. They're not shady.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a Christian mystic, and a lot of his music from his early shit was very Nurse with Woundy, very industrial noise, and then he decided to pick up an acoustic guitar and sound very Surprised by Christ in the Woods and stuff. And then I saw in the pale moonlight, like he sings like he's always astonished by something.
Okay.
He had a band, and I'm very hit or miss with Current 93. Like, when it's good, I love it, and some of it I don't love. But when you've been a band for almost 40 years, it's going to happen. He had a band that's him and Youth, the bassist of Killing Joke. They're called Hypno Pazuzu. And
whoa, okay.
their record is wonderful. I'll link you to it later. But they Roadburn in 2017, and so I went and I had to see them. But Becky, the publicist, amazing person who makes Roadburn kind of come together in a lot of ways. She does a lot of the coordination. She had an email correspondence that was meant to happen with David Tibet because, you have to talk to the artists. For one, I think he lives in Hawaii now. Like, he's a Englishman living in Hawaii. He's as far as he can be. Maybe he's back in England now. I don't even know. But he had tried to send her an email, and he made a typo. And I'm sure he got returned to him a couple times, and eventually somebody put him in touch with her properly. And so he sent an email that simply said, basically how the fates had conspired that they were not meant to correspond, and that he apologized because it gave him great distress. And it's like, no,
just from a typo.
Because he didn't realize that he had made it, I guess. Like,
okay.
He copied into an email with her. So not like he was ever aware that he had made the typo. But I'm pretty sure it was, an error, and we do have to correspond because we have this bill.
So
I also love that he just kind of was like, he threw his hands in the air. He's like, this cannot happen.
We just can't.
We can't talk.
Yeah.
Obviously they did. They figured out whatever they needed to. But I love the thought of, for one, this guy who is, very into translating religious texts and making his
weird little world, grow broader. Trying to send an email. I mean, the fact that he's on the internet at all is just weird. But then him also blaming a typographical error on the stars not aligning properly is just glorious.
I mean, yeah, it happens.
That's not as good as I'm New though. Like I love that.
No, just like, but yeah, I'm like, just give me a minute. Yeah, you know me.
But like, are they so are they still gonna have a new project together? Like,
I don't like.
Does the newness negate that, or does it make it a promise renewed?
I'm gonna go for the latter, and I will do some detective work for you because I have a friend who is friends with Chad, so I'm gonna see if there's something cooking or not.
Yeah, I'm for some reason Chad followed me back on Instagram when I followed the Beauty Pill account, but I don't.
That's nice.
Yeah, very nice. I don't know why.
Seems cool.
I followed from my personal page, and I'm like, there's absolutely nothing interesting. I talk about having like autoimmune diseases and shit. Like I'm not. Maybe that's why he strikes me as somebody who's very interested in condition.
Yes, I think so. That's a good way to put it.
But yeah, no, because I'm oddly unaware of a lot of the Discord family. So for some reason, the two that I'm like most excited by, of course, are like Lungfish and Beauty Pill, because that would make.
But that's kind of awesome. Like, it's cool that you're like not even in the flagship zone.
Like, and I guess Nation of Ulysses, but they took time to grow on me.
Yeah, they were. Oh man, I just love. I never got to see them, which makes me so angry. But I remember just like reading their liner notes. I was just like, "This is the greatest thing. I want to do this."
Have you seen? Have you seen any of Ian's other bands?
Oh yeah, I saw one of my favorite show memories, actually, of all time. I saw The Makeup, and I was pretty close to the front, and Ian came out, and he goes, "Let me hear you say yeah!" And then he grabbed my head and mushed his sweaty forehead against mine, and we both yelled yeah into the mic. It was pretty great. So yes, I saw The Makeup a bunch. Yeah, they were fun. I think I saw Weird War once, but they were kind of boring. But yeah, The Makeup I saw a lot.
Yeah, we've seen The Makeup twice, but it's obviously post-Reformation in the last couple of years.
Oh god, this still must be fun as hell though.
Okay, so we saw them play at is it called the Bell House in like South Brooklyn, which was so cool. It's such a small space, and I was like second person deep in the crowd. Like it was not a, I got to the front, and so of course, my shoulder was stood upon.
And, oh yeah, for a makeup show, 100%.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna be like, that was your first show at the Bell House? Like, because speaking of 90s, like I got to see Shellac there. I saw like a Brainiac tribute band. I actually saw Drive Like Jehu there. Wait, was that? No, sorry, that's a lie. I saw Obits there. I saw Yob there twice. Like, I'm just given what we like. Yeah, I'm surprised you hadn't been there before.
It's really far from where I live. Like,
wait, are you up in Greenpoint?
Ridgewood.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh God, you can't. That's not a.
Yeah, it took like an hour and a half on the train. I think like when we took a taxi afterward, and it was like still like a 30-40 minute drive home.
Yeah, no good.
So I will go there, but like it takes something special to get me that far. Like it's something that's hard to explain to people who aren't from here. But like it's easier to see shows in Manhattan than to see shows down there.
Gotcha. Yeah, people are like, oh, you live in Brooklyn, so you'll see the shows in Brooklyn. It's like, no, not really.
Yeah, no, like I'll catch stuff that's like I've seen more at Le Poisson Rouge because that's easy to get.
Oh, that's a great venue.
Yeah, no, I mean I've seen Blonde Redhead there. We saw Goblin, saw the Horrors. Like had some fun there.
That's awesome. Wait, quick Blonde Redhead story. I'm just at a party in Red Hook. Don't even know anybody. And fucking Amadeo Pache is just like drinking wine at the drinks table at this party where I don't really know anybody. So like
hanging out at the drinks table?
No, literally, yeah, he's just like by himself, just gently sipping wine, being ethereal and attractive. And I'm like, I don't know anybody there. And my wife's off talking to somebody. So it's like, I really like your band. He's like, oh my God, thank you so much. And so I had mentioned Fate Can Be Just As Good, because that was the one Vern Rumsey from Unwound guested on. And I was like, I love the one that Vern played on. He's like, he's my favorite bass player of all time. We had this lovely chat about Vern and Unwound for like 10 minutes. And then I just sort of melted away. I was like, I got to talk to him. So that was fun. He was so sweet.
And that Autumn's played a few of their records for me because they were a band I didn't know before I moved in, and that's my favorite of the ones I've heard. So
it's so good.
And that's not to disparage the others, but that's an incredible record.
It's really good. Just everything.
Yeah, no. As I said, I've been learning a lot about the noisy '90s. In the last for almost 4 years now. It's crazy to think, but I mean, it's not that long.
It's a good journey.
Yeah, I mean, because you've been in New York how long?
I moved here April of 2002, so I just hit 18 years.
Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So it's crazy as I scratch my knee.
I got here in September of 2016, so I'm new.
Oh my God, you have the bearing of one who has been here much longer than that.
Do I really? Especially because I spent the last year and a half, not being out in the world except for when I had to because I, got sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think part of it, is living, the other end of the block is literally Queens, and I'm in Brooklyn, so we're, deep in Brooklyn, not in, hipster Brooklyn. Although I wouldn't hold it against myself if I was
Yeah.
And then I commute to the worst part of fucking Manhattan to go to my shitty job. So it's I guess I'm at least
which is
Midtown.
Where you have to go. Yeah.
My office when my old job, the first office job I ever had in my life was by Hudson Yards, although Hudson Yards didn't exist.
Okay.
But it was a block from that, 2 blocks from that, so I got to hear the but
there was nothing there to see.
Yeah, I mean, this was 3 years ago. And then now my office that I haven't been to in over a year, but I'm on disability and will go back to, is a block from Grand Central. So 2 really undesirable places to be.
Yeah. Yes.
But then also it's I'm in, right where Bushwick and Ridgewood bump heads. So it's it's a completely different culture. And Williamsburg if I have to. But it just kind of reminds me of when I lived in Portland in a lot of ways. I neither love nor hate that. It's just different. It's more generic to me with a lot of the.
That makes sense.
There's plenty of cool shit around there too, but
Word.
And let's see. There's one question I've been asking everybody in these, and that is, it's obviously 2020. What records this year have really excited you that either came out or that you discovered in 2020?
Okay, this is good because I keep a running tally.
That's great.
No, I always give myself little notes for that stuff, so I will tell you. So the one I was just listening to before we chatted was, do you know Slum of Legs? Have you heard that album?
That's the one that people told me it sounded like the Raincoats, right?
Yes, and with a little bit of Crass in there and some post-punk vibes. They're fucking great. Horse Lords, have you heard that album?
I know the name, and I feel like I might have, but I don't know if I did. But yeah,
okay. They're super Steve Reichy. It's guitar, bass, and saxophone, just doing patterns and crazy shit on top of each other. But it's beautiful and hypnotic and amazing.
Okay.
Do you know Trico, that Japanese trio that does math pop with the most beautiful harmonies? Okay. New Trico album called Black is really good. I mean, the new Aransi Pazuzu, of course.
Yeah,
the new a new Vile Creature, of course. KW and Vic are like the raddest people in the whole world. Oh, the new Couch Slut, of course.
Yeah.
And then I feel like have you heard the Special Interest album? I feel like that would be right up your alley. Oh my God.
Yeah. No, I heard it. I want to say the day it came out, like somebody posted about it, and I listened, and it was one of those things where I was like, I'm going to give this a curiosity listen, and then I decided to keep giving it a curiosity listen.
Yeah, same.
Giving it a curiosity listen, and I love it.
I was like, I need to buy it. Yeah, I didn't, and it's not really like the first song or two, I was like, I don't know if this is my thing, and then like 2 songs later, I was like, I want to hear this again. This is amazing. Oh, and then More Jewelry, which is More Mother and
yeah. That's rad. I think you said I misheard that as More like More when you said it.
Oh. No, Emma. And then what else? Oh, Orphan Donor. It's the drummer from. Anyway, it's just like killer grindcore. That's like just really naughty and gnarly. And then
that's the Secret Cutter guy, right?
Yes, sorry, that's the band I was thinking of. Yes, the guy from Secret Cutter.
That's what I thought. Okay, that rips.
And then Fax, Facs. Have you heard the Void Moments album? So that is Brian Case from the 90 Day Men, Disappears. I think he had something after Disappears, but it's a trio. And he's, it's just really, the drummer is one of the sickest drummers I've ever heard. So it's like these really solid, groovy drum beats. And then just really hard-hitting bass, and Brian just kind of swirls and sways on top of it. And it's really cool. He's got a song, I can't remember what it's called, but he was very struck with how fluid gender is with his son and his friends, and it impressed him so much. It's basically the whole album about just like not relying on binaries and just embracing fluidity and going with the flow. It's pretty cool. Oh, my wife just got home. Hello. So yeah, but those are, so More Jewelry, Fax, Couch Slut, Vile Creature, Aransi Pazuzu, Slum-a-Legs, Horse Lords, Orphan Donor, and Trico. There's your list.
Awesome.
So that's what I'm into.
That gave me a lot of new listening. I know a handful of those, but a handful I do not.
Oh, Fax you'll be into for sure. They're great.
Have you tweeted that, or I feel like that's something that Zach Lopez may have even mentioned.
Yes, he did, and then I hopped on. I was like, "Yes, Zach, it's so good!" Oh my god!
I saw you guys talking about that. I feel like I may have done one of those things where I opened it in a new tab and then either listened briefly or didn't listen because I had.
Gotcha.
Like, even right now, I have 11.
We'll go back to it. It's real good.
So I need to. The albums that I've enjoyed this year run such a weird spectrum, so I'm excited to hear that. No special interest, though. Oh my god!
It's just everything. Like the lyrics are killer, the bass is fantastic, and like the guitar. It's like the whole thing could have been on like Gold Standard Labs or 3.1G. Like it feels of the early aughts, but still really now at the same time. It's just great. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. Now, somebody described it as like I don't remember what the description was, but it had the word suicide in it, and I'm like, okay, like I need to give this a click.
Yeah, that weird like spare creepiness.
I feel like a lot of bands that have a drum machine get the suicide tag unfairly. Which is not helping them, because honestly, you've set my hopes really high if you do that. Like, just like, don't sell something as greater than what it is, because if anything, I'll be harsher on it.
Yeah.
Special Interest lived up to that. I also really enjoyed the new album. Obviously, they are amazing people. Supposed to play that album release show as the opener, but there was no album release show. Maybe there will next year.
So. But like they got it's so crampsy. It's just like I love. It's so good.
And then
just hitting those toms, so good.
Yeah, and then as far as things that I think you'd like that I really enjoyed, there's this band out of LA called Oozles or Oozels. Ooze, like OOZELLES.
Okay.
It's kind of like no way big band craziness. I'm using all the wrong words.
Doesn't matter. I'll check it out.
But I guess the singer is one of those people who is a personality. People know, like Autumn knows him. Zach knew who he was. Like Autumn is like somebody who knew him.
Okay.
Dante White. I don't. He's somebody, like, I'm sure that he's been in 5 bands that you know, but I really love their new album, and I think you would too.
Cool.
But it's wild. Also, if you haven't heard the band Oxenus, then
spell that for me.
OKSENNUS. It's another weirdo Finnish band. It's one man at this point, but it used to be a 3-piece. But he just makes, every album is different, but they're all simultaneously inspired by noise, black metal, and free jazz. And
okay.
And take each of those to their extreme. Like the new one that came out this year is 2 songs, one of which is just a harsh noise track, and the other is like the most bare bones, slow avant doom weirdness. But like you can tell that it's an endurance test, but in that way where you're like true freaks. Like, it's weird. I loved it. I don't know. I think you will. Maybe you won't, but I think you will.
They're in the list, so I will listen tomorrow.
Yeah. And then I wanted to ask you about the reality that we're all facing, the quarantine, the pandemic. Aside from writing 11 songs, which is plenty, mind you, how have you kept it together, and how have you, how have you felt, especially in the last month with all this gone on, after the killing of George Floyd? You've been very vocal, obviously, in your personal social media, but like, what's gotten you through?
This is because like Elaine and I talk about this a lot, because like it's getting, I feel like every week gets a lot harder, because it was, I feel like when it first happened, it was like this new crazy thing. It's like, oh, like you can sort of indulge a fantasy, like we're survivalists, like hunkering down, waiting, but then like that gets old so fast. So sorry. So like,
no, of course.
Digressing.
No, you're not.
But like, what's got me through is, but like, so yeah, now that like the novelty's worn off, the fact, at least now that since I'm unemployed, like I basically have the same day every day, which drives me bonkers. So like, I need structure in order to be able to like do my thing. So like, I do like a sort of 25-minute physical therapy / workouty thing every morning. And then after that, I meditate for 20 minutes. So that sort of push and pull, like once I've gotten that 50-ish minutes out of the way, I'm like, okay, like I can face whatever the horrors are today. So then like, it's just really like finding joy where you can get it. Like Elaine and I have gone super deep on like food recipes and cocktail recipes and trying different kinds of wine and like just watching like TV shows we never would otherwise. It's just like, where can we find delight, and how can we, in the midst of all this, cultivate a sense of gratitude, which Elaine is much better than I am, I think. But it's a combination of just like really digging deep for joy and giving myself just sort of blocks of time where it's like, okay, so after I do workout and then meditation, it's like my next block is chores, whether it's cleaning or like going to get groceries or whatever. Then like early afternoon is creativity time. So I'll do like write a song or work on lyrics or read a book or just like play records and just like blob around. And then like we get into dinner prep after that. So I need a structure and like ways to feel joy and be excited about stuff, but it's fucking hard. And then, yes. So once George Floyd was murdered and that whole explosion happened, and it's like, I hate calling it this because I should have been doing it the whole time, but it was a reminder, and I don't like reducing George Floyd's death to a reminder, but it's like
It makes
my
sense. I know
my
you mean.
friend, yeah, like my friend Arthi, who I used to work with, she was like, you know, I considered myself like a decent ally, but all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I have so much more work to do. And so that's kind of where I was. I was like, shit, like I have so far to go. So then it was, and there's at least, despite the backdrop of just, I mean, I found the protests to be very inspiring and invigorating, but also really fucking scary and weird. But I felt it was like to see those people putting their bodies in between the police and just folks just trying to make themselves heard. I was like, I can't, like, I have to do something. If they're out there doing that, like, I need to just like educate myself or talk to my friends or whatever. And so I guess it was just a good clarion call to like just be smarter and be better. So I'm trying to figure out now, like I've been reading up on sort of prison industrial culture abolition and abolishing the police, and like I'm just sort of dipping my toe into that world. So I'm like, whoa, the ramifications are so broad. So I'm just trying to A, get smart, B, figure out where I can put my time once I'm smart enough to like volunteer or work with a movement or whatever. And then and then coupled with that, it's like, but this is such a lifelong thing, and I want to make a difference right now, and social media wants me to be performative. So like trying to somehow triangulate, trying to just learn and be better and take my time with that, but also like I feel like it's good to just share what you've learned, but I'm always leery that means I'm sort of showing off that I've learned, even though I don't want it that way. It's just like, whoa, I learned this cool thing. The history of the police is actually that, and I read it here. You guys should read this too. Holy shit. So like if I find people's journeys inspiring, so if I can share a little of that, I want to. So like, yeah, so it's just, yeah, exactly. So, but my God, I have so much farther to go. But so it's just like realizing, and it's been helpful and good as like a beacon to move towards. It's like, I can be better and I want to be different now. And I told my friends, I was like, hold me accountable to this. Like, I don't want to like fade out. Like I want to join Critical Resistance once they have volunteer nights again, or whatever it happens to be. Just like,
yeah,
if I leave this period the same guy before it all happened, then I have fucked up in a huge way.
Yeah. No, and it's interesting, you know, and I don't begrudge anybody who was previously more comfortable or said less because they figured it was implicit that they were not a racist or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really great for me to see a lot of my friends who were previously less vocal, at least, speaking up. You know, and I have work to do, but like I did my first Food Not Bombs when I was 19, maybe.
Okay.
You know, and I got radicalized. I mean, it began when I was 14 because I bought a System of a Down CD.
And that was that.
Which, whether or not, I don't know if that's your thing. I feel like that's probably something for people my age specifically. But
I don't mind him, but the whole nonsense of viewing, but that's a whole other thing.
I turned, like, the quick stories, I turned 14 3 months before their second album came out. And their second album opens with a song about prison abolition and doing away with mandatory minimum sentences for drug possession. And it's vocal about that. Like,
that's awesome.
So regardless of your thoughts on the musicality of it, which, I mean, my thoughts on that have shifted over the years as well. You know, I enjoy it nostalgically, but when you have that being thrown at you as a teenager who just wanted to have a good time, I mean, you're either not going to like it or you're going to be like, what does this even mean? What is a mandatory?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what that is. And then when I was 17, the Iraq War was underway. And there was this old man on the bus, and I mean, he was old. I don't mean to be morbid. He's probably not with us now. no, his name was Harrell, not Harold, but Harrll. He rode us out in the middle of nowhere in California from the town I was in to a bigger town, and he would give socialist propaganda, and it was handbooks propaganda, but he. And I was goth kid trying to be left alone, but one day he just looks like, and I'm 17. I was on my way to my terrible job at Taco Bell, and he just looks at me and says, "You look about drafting age," and he gives me a couple handbooks, pamphlets, and I read them, and that did a lot to shape me, and I'm really grateful for that because.
Oh my God.
Because again, the possibility of a draft was in constant conversation around that time. That was 2004. It was like real. It was very real, and especially knowing that I was going to turn 18 soon and have to register whether or not there was a draft. Like,
gotcha.
And so I started looking at things because I'm like, oh, the Democrats will send me too. Like, but I didn't do a lot of work involved in that. Like I did like some canvassing and stuff, but not a lot. But it's been really good seeing people who I thought were too comfortable to say anything starting to speak out. And that does not include you. I don't think you were.
Oh no! I mean, I'm a smug motherfucker.
I grew up.
Like, I don't want to be that anymore.
No, like I grew up in an affluent. There was, and one of my parents was affluent and one of them wasn't, and I grew up between two households, and so I got to really see that the difference.
Gotcha.
And I think it made things that other people didn't, and it, I still have plenty of growing and learning to do, but I guess I was lucky in some of the unluckiness that I was exposed to, because I, could go to the house where there was always an appetizer plate before a fancy dinner. And then I'd go to the house where my parent had lived in a camper trailer for a few months when she couldn't find a place to live.
Gotcha.
So, it gave me a class awareness that I think a lot of people growing up in that area didn't have. I grew up in wine country, dude. Like,
whoa, like Napa or Sonoma?
Sonoma.
Okay.
But there's obviously not everybody out there is rich. Some people are very not rich.
Right.
So I a lot about the two experiences.
Word.
But it's go ahead.
Oh no, just like it's been so. Just back to your point about friends, not even that you thought were quiet, but it's definitely carried me. Like some of my friends who I already knew were like passionate leftists anyway, but they become so vocal and just so like on it all the time. And I'm just like, yeah, like this is good energy. Like I want to like feed that and keep doing it. But it's really interesting how just like I'll just watching two people can just sort of, because it's a husband and wife couple that I'm thinking of, but just like all they need to do is like get pissed about something, and I'm like, yeah, like I'm in this with you. I want to help you. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Really,
I think
cool.
We all kind of need to light each other's spark, because it'll fizzle out. Sometimes you're exhausted. Like, for me, obviously in the last month, right as things started to really pick up, 2 of my grandparents died.
I know. I'm so sorry. I saw that.
It's, it's not cool, but like, I'm making my peace with it, currently, and probably will be for the rest of my life. But
yeah,
I've figured out where that needs to be compartmentalized at least. But I had a few week fizzle out, and I'm still figuring it out. But like, I get inspired by my friends, and that's really cool seeing, that you don't have to be on all the time, because like, Jesus Christ, man. 2 days before I had a birthday, my grandpa died. And then 2 days after I had a birthday, my grandma died. And it's like in different sides of the family too. So like now I've got one grandma and one grandpa who are now grappling with being alone in their 80s and 90s. Like,
that's scary shit, dude.
Totally. So it's like, there's been a lot of heavy personal stuff, and it's been inspiring to see friends of mine who would have never said anything before. Again, not because they didn't care, but because they assumed it was implicit that they. It's nice to see them speaking out.
It's great. It's awesome.
Like that is giving me inspiration to be more active again, because for a long time, I was the annoying person that talked about this shit. And,
Right. And people were like, oh my God.
and like, like today, I know just on my personal Facebook that 4 years ago, what the fuck? Oh, are you there, Baxter?
I am. You were digital and all broken up for a second, but you're back.
All my stuff vanished for a second. We were both those swirling loading icons for a minute. It was
you were beach balling.
I had like an existential crisis there.
We're still here. We're still existing.
For now.
For now.
Forever now that this is in the digital ether here. But I had this thing today. You know, Facebook gives you memories, and I don't particularly like it, but it reminded me that 4 years ago today I had made a post about police brutality and the extrajudicial killing of black men. And all I could think is like, man, 4 years ago I was talking about this. And to be fair, 4 years ago, a lot of people were really upset with me for saying that. And a lot of them...
They've crossed.
And to be fair, some of them decided to go the libertarian route and fuck them. Like, you know, you can't reach everybody. But you know, it's like that was when we still had Obama in office, even. Like, you know, so you couldn't even blame it on Trump, because I think a lot of people are foolishly blaming this on Donald Trump, and he's a symptom, not a cause.
Exactly. He's just stoking what's already there.
Yeah. No, and that's why he's done so well with that racist audience. But you know, but it was interesting to me to see, like, today specifically, like 4 years ago, that was what I was talking about.
Yeah.
People were mad at me for it, and some people, obviously, a lot of people agreed. You know, because there's a, you know, we're all in different places in our path of figuring this out. But it was interesting. We should probably wrap this up soon, but I don't want to leave it on a dark note. So I've got a couple things that I've been thinking about that I want to discuss with you. First off, John Oates, and your
an angel
like
from heaven. I honestly don't. No, it's just I love Hall & Oates. Like, I listen. They're like War Babies, where I took that picture from on my Instagram, is a classic. Better Than Both of Us, also a classic. Abandoned Luncheonette with Bernard Purdie on drums, just fucking fantastic. It has some stinkers, but I've just always loved their early, like, more sort of soul bluesy stuff. And when it came time to discussing quarantine here with Elaine, we were like, who should be my style icon? Should it be John Oates, or should it be Lindsey Buckingham, circa Rumors? Because if you see those pictures, he just has two eyes poking out of like a thistle puff of hair. So
yeah.
And I think, you know, Lindsay was a control freak, cokehead. So, and I don't know the first thing about John Oates, but it's good. He's a cipher that I can project all my desires on. So John Oates is now my quarantine hair icon.
Now, you seem to have, on your social media, you posted a comparison picture. You seem to have boisterous hair than you did in that image. When was...
It was just a couple days ago. I teased it out. Like, I ran my fingers through it. This is hair wash and product. It's usually like...
So kind of the way I could almost Mars Volta my hair if I put enough stuff.
Yes, like Cedric.
Oh, let's not go there. I dream of that. We watched a live Mars Volta set because we've been watching a lot of live sets from bands on YouTube and documentaries about everything.
Oh, wait, have you seen? Can I plug one documentary and then you can continue? Have you seen the BBC Four Krautrock documentary? It's only an hour, but it's fascinating, and the footage is awesome. Watch it. Yeah, just BBC Four Krautrock. It'll pop up on YouTube.
Speaking of BBC things, have you seen the Synth Britannia one?
No.
I'll link you to it. It's about, like, you know, the early synthesizer music in the late 70s and early 80s, especially in Sheffield for some reason. Like, you got Human League on there and stuff, and if you're not a fan, Human League was oddly subversive before they became a pop band. But
I love them. Like
I do too.
Yeah, their Fascination is one of my favorite songs of all time.
But yeah. Anyway, it's a great documentary. But one of the bands we watched live footage of was the Mars Volta, which is a band Autumn was always aware of, but had kind of written off because of their fans. And we watched a live set from like 2008, I want to say, which is, to be fair, a little after I stopped attention. Maybe it was 2006. I don't know. Like they had their third album had just come out, probably 2006 or 7. But I loved that, most of the set is just them having an absolute psychedelic freak out. Sure, they're on acid. It was just absolutely nutty.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Like, oh, this is very 70s. The framing. I still don't think I'll convince her yet to watch an At the Drive-In set with me, but maybe soon.
Maybe do it a song at a time.
Well, no, it's got to be. I think if I get like a late relationship of command era thing where they got a little more like I'm sure you've seen that video of them doing Quarantined and they just extend the jam in the weird midsection.
Yeah.
I feel like that sort of thing. Of course. By the way, the lyrics of Quarantine by At the Drive-In hit so differently now. Like I thought it was abstract until I was in quarantine for a pandemic.
I should go back. That's a good point.
Like because to be fair, I thought that a lot of At the Drive-In lyrics were just I do drugs and I have poetry and feelings. And then reading the lyrics, like really thinking about that song now after being in quarantine, I'm like, oh, I mean, it's not, perfect, but it touches on it. I mean, they're talking about people hiding behind masks and stuff, and again, could be completely metaphorical, but very oddly prescient.
Yeah.
That anyway. Sorry, you mentioned Cedric, and it's like, yeah, that dude has been like a kind of one of my lighthouses as a performer for a long time.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He also features heavily in that Brainiac documentary, so if you watch that, you'll because I mean, but it's also no surprise at all that he would love the shit out of them.
Yeah, totally.
Like it didn't occur to me at all, but then the second I see him, I'm like, oh yeah, of course he would. And then my final question for you, because I feel you've lived much of your life with the dude from the fucking Offspring stealing your name for his personal, putting a tiny twist. How does that feel, and are you collecting settlements for that yet?
Not yet, but who I get more, and like this really does make me want to scream, is the dog from Anchorman, and the amount of times, because Will Ferrell's dog is Baxter in the movie. He's like,
I've never seen that film.
So his dog is Baxter, and the amount of times a cashier or a bartender or a server will be like, Baxter, I don't speak Spanish, and quote Anchorman at me as though I've never heard it before.
Oh God.
Please stop. Please stop. Yeah. I've gotten enough of it, but oddly, Dexter and I haven't reached a settlement yet, but my lawyers are watching him.
Yeah, well, especially now that he's got like that rocket scientist money. Isn't he a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon?
No idea.
He's actually like, I'm aware of them because of being a child in the 90s, but like, I think he actually is like an astrophysicist or some shit. Like, let me look this up. He got his degree well after the band.
Well, I'm going to look this up too.
I am. But which is, to be fair, yeah, he has a PhD in molecular biology.
Okay.
He got it in 2017 based on immune responses, persistence, replication, and pathogenicity of HIV. So, like, dude should be doing that instead of continuing his
taking my damn name
and taking your fucking name. Like, he barely even changed it.
Seriously.
To be fair, Baxter is Baxter is like the cool version. Dexter is the nerd version.
Yes, I agree.
Like, wasn't Poindexter kind of an insult? Like,
Yeah, which I got frequently as a young child.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm over it now.
And they had the fucking nerve to try and cover the damned. I
Yeah,
don't know.
don't. Just, it's like Fugazi. You just don't.
No, there's something is like, unless it's Halloween and you're doing a cover band, then anything's fair.
Yeah,
The whole point is to get drunk and have fun, and it doesn't have to be good.
right. Exactly.
But so on that note, I'm looking forward to your Hall & Oates Garden of the Art cover band for Halloween. You know, let me back you up on Maneater.
Done.
You know.
Done and done.
But thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
This was awesome. Thank you.
And I can't wait to see you again in the real world. We'll get
Seriously.
Shit.
Yes. Oh my God, that'd be awesome. Yeah, this was great. And thank you. And let's we'll just keep talking and keeping each other honest and engaged.
Absolutely. Well, take care. Thank you for being here. And we'll talk soon.
Indeed. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye,
Later, dude.
Okay. Late.
All right, folks. That was Baxter Holland from Garden of the Ark. Their record can be seen in the YouTube description. It's phenomenal. It's called Stumble Into the Light, which is a lyric in the first track on it, but the whole album is worth hearing. You can see it's getting darker here in Brooklyn. I have no actual lights on. I was relying on natural light, so we're going to let it go. I'm Ben. You're you. This is Black Metal and Brews. If you like what I'm doing, it does cost money to do these because I pay for the service that lets me interview people. You can throw me $1 or $2 on patreon.com/blackmetalandbrews if you want. If not, everything I put on there is free. So go and check out a playlist anyway. Thanks for being here. Again, like and subscribe if you want. It doesn't help me at all. I don't know of YouTube giving me any benefit, but you know, it's a sign of solidarity, maybe. I have no idea. On Friday, we don't have an image for it yet, but I will be speaking at an earlier hour with Andy Curtis Brignall from the group Kaina, black metal act, been around for 15 years now. I'm very excited to speak with him. So tune in and check that out on Friday, I think at 3 p.m. And thank you for being here. Love to you all, and see you again soon. Cheers, and thank you as always. My glass is empty because the bottle's empty, but cheers.